I'll talk to my own experiences with these.
Okay,
Um, Everybody kind of has their own experiences with them, but for the
sure.
most part, I've heard other people say these too, and I completely agree with them. Yeah, there's this wonderful book by Jeremy Narby called The Cosmic Serpent, DNA and the Serpent of Life, or something along those lines.
Hmm.
And he goes down to Peru and he's working with various psychedelics like ayahuasca and psilocybin. He talks about the personalities. And I found that the way that he articulates it is just spot on, beautiful, and eloquent. And it's probably better than anything that I could do,
Mm.
but I'll try my best. So that's just a reference if you ever wanted to see it or anybody else does.
Okay, perfect.
Um, so I find that mushrooms, which is probably the psychedelic that I have the strongest relationship built with,
Hmm.
they're like these cute little munchkins,
Mm.
right? Terrence McKenna used to call them machine elves.
Oh
And
yeah.
all throughout history, there's this folklore, this mythology of elves and dwarves and, all these really wacky, goofy, um, very clever creatures that exist in the forests
Hmm.
that, of course, they were describing psychedelic experiences back then because they lay all the foundation framework for you to understand where they're having these interactions at.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're like these really small, cute elves that are incredibly powerful, super powerful, and they get this tremendous satisfaction out of doing something very clever. Right. So when and they got to do it in a way that you can receive it. That's the
Mm.
most important thing because they can do the most incredible, profound, clever things, but if it just washes over your head and you don't even notice it, what's the point?
Right.
So it's about doing the healing work in a way that you're able to perceive what had happened to receive the message. And
Mm.
when that happens, there's like this clicking of like yeah, validation and like
Mm.
high importance. Like they get a tremendous it's just satisfaction is what I think they get out of it.
Yeah.
So I really find them to be hilarious. And once I really learned how to have the experience and to go into it,
Hmm.
I mean, I used to really struggle with this. I'll just say that.
Mm.
Psychedelic experiences were very, very challenging for me in the beginning
Mm.
because I had so much pain, and that was what was coming up, and I did not have the foundation to work with it. But
Mm.
once I learned how to go into it, these experiences are just incredible.
Mm.
Um, so that's the mushrooms. Like I said, I probably
Big
have the
fan.
str yeah, I'm a big fan. If you can build, you have to have the framework. You
Right.
have to have the foundation. Otherwise, it's going to be very stressful. If the mushrooms or the psychedelic is trying to bring something up for you
Hmm.
and you're resisting it and saying,
Mm.
"No, I don't want that," because that's the pattern that you have,
Yeah,
you're gonna have a really hard time.
I
So
see.
we've really got to build the ability to get curious about these and try and engage with it and relate with it and participate in it. And
Hmm.
if you can do that and you can really go in at the right amounts, which is crucial,
Hmm.
yeah, things are incredible there.
That's cool.
So I really enjoy the personality of the mushrooms. Ayahuasca, on the other hand, is completely different.
Mm.
And so I went down into Peru and went deep, like 4 hours into the jungle away from the nearest town
Oh
where
wow.
we flew into Iquitos, which is this town they call it the capital of the Amazon. You can't get to it by road. You have to go by boat or by plane. And so we flew in there and then we took a bus for 45 minutes out of the town to a small port town on the river. And then we hopped on a boat, went for 4 hours up the river and then got off and got on one of those petty cabs, like the little
Hmm.
dirt bikes that have the little cart in the back.
Yeah.
And they pulled us through. I mean, like legit, it is just a little clearing in the middle of the jungle. Like you could see all the animals right there and
Oh
all sorts of
gosh.
stuff happening. Yeah. And we went on that for 45 minutes to this really small retreat. So the oppressiveness of the jungle, the darkness, the cycles of life that are happening right there. If you're not familiar with that, that alone is enough to induce a state of panic in most people, which happened to
Right.
me for sure.
Mm.
And then you work with ayahuasca,
Mm.
which the history of ayahuasca is so incredible. How did these indigenous with pre-chemistry knowledge, like chemistry illiteracy,
Hmm.
and the millions of plants in the jungle know that you take this vine and you take the leaf from a different plant and you boil them together for 4 hours. And
Mm.
that when you combine the two, it gives you a psychedelic experience. See, the leaves of the plant contain DMT, dimethyltryptamine, which
Mm-hmm.
is it's a chemical that's produced actually in our bodies. It's one synthesis away from tryptophan, which is regarded as the building block of life.
Mm.
So it's very easy to come across this. It's everywhere. But our bodies have an enzyme inhibitor, monoamine oxidase inhibitor, which allows us to consume DMT on a regular basis and not have the psychedelic effect.
Mm.
So it shuts it off. Our bodies deactivate it.
Right.
So when you boil the leaf, you can get the DMT out of it. And when you combine it with the ayahuasca vine, which has the monoamine oxidase inhibitor in it,
Ah,
it inhibits the enzyme.
right.
So it allows you to consume the DMT. And the vine itself, ayahuasca translates to vine of the souls or vine of the dead.
Mm.
So it's been used for as far back as we can trace. And what's really interesting is that not only did these pre-literate chemists, so to speak, have knowledge of how to combine these two plants out of the millions of them in the jungle,
Mm.
they also had intensive knowledge of genetic structures and double helix long before Francis Crick discovers the double helix.
Mm-hmm.
So they had lots of knowledge long before we did. Well, I won't say before we did, but before our modern science came
Sure.
across these. So there's a lot of knowledge with ayahuasca. It's often regarded as the mother, like the mother spirit, the
Mm-hmm.
grandmother of the planet that we're in. So when you go and engage with ayahuasca, is there's usually a time beforehand for a week, 10 days, whatever it is, where you have to do a cleansing diet. You have to prepare yourself
Mm.
physically to really engage with the spirit of the earth, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
And when you engage with her, um, yeah, it's like working with the mother. I
Mm.
found that she could get pissed off pretty easily if you've been skimping on, the things that she's been trying to tell you to work with.
Ah.
But also that was where I got that feeling of being comforted and held for the first time in my life.
Mm.
So she can just be this wonderful, compassionate, caring, loving mother, and you have to put in the framework to get there.
Mm.
So
Got it.
she's incredible. And there's so many plants that you engage with down there as well that you do diets with that are not
Mm-hmm.
psychoactive, but also are very powerful and conscious in their own respects. And when you combine those two, when you're doing all these various diets on these plants, and then you start working with the ayahuasca, yeah, the experience is very incredible. But I highly encourage people, if you're listening to this, to can very strongly consider if you're going down there, how you're doing it and where you're going to do it. Because all of us going down there, myself included, even though I come from a lineage that is very similar to this, when we come down there with our American money and with our
Mm.
American culture and our American customs, is we invite lots of opportunity for corruption,
Mm.
and we can really taint those cultures and disrupt them in lots of ways, which is absolutely happening right now. So
Mm.
I don't want to sound like I'm encouraging everybody to go down there and do it,
I
but
see.
if you do it, I'm not going to tell you what to do. Try to be careful is my encouragement.
Got it. Good to know.